Okay, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic, lesson known classic. This is episode number 34, 38, double shot number 33, 32. Got two Marvel trades. First one is basically Daredevil. Yes, Daredevil. This is Daredevil Unleash Hell, published under the Red Band banner. You're thinking, Red Band. Yeah, Red Band. What is Red Band, you might ask? Well, from what I can tell, it's the best way to describe it, per se. Is that it's kind of basically the modern equivalent to that. It's like a recent equivalent to the Max imprint, or it's a bit more violent. Yeah, and this of course focuses on, you think, oh, the Psy, and the fact it's, yeah, this is the Elektra Daredevil, not Matt Murdock. Nope. Believe it or not, only her third miniseries as Daredevil. She had 2 volumes as Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, and then we have this. It's only 5 issues done by Erica Sanchez, who did the last Daredevil Woman Without Fear miniseries. Written artwork by Valentina Pini, Jose Luis Soros, and Sergio Davila. Artwork is Paquelo Sakura and Rachel Rosenberg. So we see Elektra just beating up some guys who turn to be some drug dealers. Yep, because why not? Blows up the warehouse. And then we see this woman who's painting something. And then turns out she's painting something related to Muse. Yep, because Muse's spirit gets involved here. This like this man is at this point been long dead. He later was confirmed to be alive in the pages of Eddie Brock Venom, Carnage. So then kills her teacher, and then we have Elektra just sewing herself. Looks like she's sewing up her what appears to be her arm, her leg, and what appears to be her basically hip. After she healed herself up, she meditates, and then we see Muse, who's still painting this man is long dead. We also see Daredevil briefly in his black costume. Last time he wore that was actually in Shadowland. And also a flashback of seeing Blind Spot get his mask removed. By the way, Blind Spot himself has not been seen since Charles Shaw wrapped up his run for Daredevil. Yep, so we have this woman who's a fan of Muse. I love this cover here, which is a clear nod to an old Daredevil cover. Where you have Elektra's blood, and then we have the basically Cole North, I believe his name is, and apparently it looks like he's back in the force, maybe, despite the fact he's I think he became Foggy Nelson's new partner after Matt Murdock basically stopped being his partner. So yeah, now we have a new Muse, and then she starts killing more people, and Elektra's fighting her directly, and then Muse himself ends up possessing her. Muse was here. Yeah, it's a female fan of Muse who she ends up fighting. And then, for some random reason, we have the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider just randomly appear in this book. Yes, he just randomly lost LA, Vegas, Delaware, St. Louis. And the reason is because of Muse. Because somehow, someway, Muse caused them to drive halfway, basically across the whole freaking country. Just as them say, Daredevil. And then we see Hell Elektra. Yep. Because we gotta have a demonic version of Elektra here. Because why not? And then Elektra is seen back in her classic Frank Miller garb. And then, of course, she does her nod to when Frank Miller originally killed her back in the 80s. When Bullseye did this to her, except not the same lines. And Yeah, she gets involved because Hells, and then we have like, oh, you've been a hero. You have Daredevil, her fighting Bullseye, her team up with Laura McKinley, aka Wolverine, working with Miles, and look like Flash will go snapping next, killing people. Yeah, and like Daredevil, don't do it, and well, and then of course you have to save the girl who's basically being. Of course, kind of in hell, though. Elektra ends up getting rid of the demon, and the woman's being free from being Muse. And then looks like she's about to commit suicide, but then Elektra can't use her. And then this is something really weird. So apparently her Psy can act like the famous Billy Club, where we can spring out and basically save her from killing herself. And then she's handed off to like the police and ambulance. And it's like, okay. After it goes off, presumably over the Daredevil title, did whatever was going on in that book. Kind of a very interesting book. Though I have to question, like, okay, so I get the fact Muse is here, but why in the world did Erica Sanchez get the idea of throwing Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider? I mean, how do I know it's Johnny Blaze? Because Dan Ketch is barely used nowadays, despite the fact that you think, oh, Spike Jacket, it must be Dan Ketch. Nope, not Dan Ketch. Dan Ketch has barely been active. So, it's Johnny Blaze. Kind of very interesting, these two working together. Now, you might be asking, has Ghost Rider worked together before? He has. Back in the 70s. Except he worked with Matt Murdock Daredevil. As for a crossover with his title. Yes, it was about 2 years into Ghost Rider's run, he decided to do a brief crossover with Daredevil for some reason. Actually, it was due to something called Death's Hand. It was this skeleton thing who apparently was Karen Page's father. And I guess Erica Sanchez decided to just throw him in here as a nod to that. But the thing is, prior to this book, Elektra's had no encounters with Ghost Rider before. I know Matt Murdock has, but Muse, I kind of get the reason why. Maybe the villain of his appearance over in Daredevil Born Again. Yes, that's probably the reason why. But definitely very interesting. For a book on the Red Bandana, it didn't feel as violent as I thought it would be. It's not as bloody. I guess the reason why, because all the hellscape stuff. That's probably the reason they put on the Red Band Banner. That or whatever. So, next up we have, by the way, I give the book roughly a 9 out of 10. Next up we have is Miles Morales by Cody Ziegler, Volume 7, God War. Excuse me, retain issues 32 to 36. Yes, a 5-part storyline. We have Miles in his brand new costume, and mentioning about the previous crossover he had with, I kid you not. So, yeah, this comes right after his crossover he had with Deadpool, because Deadpool ended like not long after this, and she's like, oh, your brother Jamie. Yeah, Shift now has a real name now. Shift is now just a code name. Yep, he's now called Jamie. Okay, fine. And then we have a guy called Zip Xander, who apparently was in jail for a reason. And he's making license plates. And then he's visited by the God of War himself, Ares, and gives basically some power, so he breaks out of jail. And then Shanti shows up because why not? He's basically Miles' his avatar, so why not? So, and then Thor and Hercules get involved because of course they do. And weird enough, basically this is before the events of Immortal Thor number 25, so Thor is still alive. He remembers him. So they have a conflict, and then of course we have Agent Go, who is now Warcry. She became Warcry in a previous storyline. And basically it was a big conflict where... And then of course Shift gets Lucy involved. And then Miles' therapist gets involved too, who apparently has got the power. So... Yeah, also for some reason she's contacted by Sasquatch. Yes, Sasquatch of Alpha Flight. His appearance here feels completely random. And of course, oh yeah, and the reason why that Ares is doing the stuff he is because the events of Avengers No Surrender, a book that Cody Ziegler didn't write, and apparently Olympus was destroyed during No Surrender, which I'm like, I don't remember that happening here. No. I'm like, at what point was Olympus destroyed? Oh yeah, and apparently there's a treaty between two pantheons. Ares is like, the treaty's no longer void because the Olympus was destroyed. Which I still tend to question. How was this destroyed? I remember reading No Surrender. It was it was an excellent crossover where it involved the Avengers in their bunker. I'm like, this happened on a panel? Because they mentioned that event, and I'm like, I don't remember that happening there. I guess it was Cody Ziegler just doing a retcon. And then, of course, Therapist turns out she's powered by gamma radiation. Where she's got like a She-Hulk. Yes, a She-Hulk. And, no, she's not called She-Hulk, but she has She-Hulk's power. And fights the God of Wine. Yes, fights the God of Wine. And of course, Miles wants to participate. Nope, let's have basically the supporting characters fight. Yep. And it's really good, this thing. It basically was excellent follow-up to the previous storyline. And then we have where Shanti calls in one of his old followers from Athens, of all places. And this book is just really good. Yes, the guy handed Cody Ziegler. At one point, he turns Brooklyn Vision Academy into like an arena. Everyone's wondering, like, what the heck just happened? And then, of course, he comes the Sky Father. He takes his father position, Zeus. And, well, after fighting various foes, by the end, of course, Shanti fixed everything. No problem. And Ares is sent back home. Ever goes home. Battle's fixed. And the book ends with basically two next villains. Inari and White Cat. Okay. Super Thieves and Super Schemes. This book was a lot of fun. I love this book. Give this book roughly a 10 out of 10. The book was really good. Cody Ziegler did an excellent job with this book. And of course, basically, this is like, sadly put, the only comic I published from Marvel Comics that's been out more than about a year or two, because everything else, restart. Marvel loves that restart button. They love hitting that button so badly. It's like, oh, this book is published like 30 issues. Restart number 1. It's kind of irritating to say the least, yes. At least some books are continuing. Not all of them per se. I kind of wish more. I know it's kind of a recurring joke at this point, but I kind of wish basically that Marvel would stop with the relaunches. Just stop. Okay? But will Marvel listen? God no, because they don't freaking care. That's our comics for you. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up we have is Let This Grieving Soul Retire. Okay, next video. Bye.